What's going on, Giants fans? Welcome to another video from Hit Squad Productions. And in this video, I wanted to look at some wide receivers that I think the New York Giants should take a look at going into this offseason. Now, you heard in yesterday's presser, Dave Gettleman and John Mara are looking to add some playmakers to this offense. And let's be honest, they should. We don't know how Saquon's going to be coming back from that injury. And Darius Slayton is not the number one wide receiver that I, as well as some other Giants fans, thought that he could be. He's definitely a solid wide receiver, but he's definitely a number two option along with Sterling Shepard. Now, there were 12 wide receivers on the free agent market that I thought were worth looking at, but I'm going to jot it down to 4. Now, out of those 12, you have Allen Robinson, Kenny Gallaudet, Juju Smith-Schuster, Chris Godwin, Corey Davis, Will Fuller, Antonio Brown, Marvin Jones, T.Y. Hilton, Curtis Samuel, Rashard Higgins, and A.J. Green. Now, out of those 4, I chose Allen Robinson, Kenny Gallaudet, Corey Davis, and Curtis Samuel. Reason being is that I think that Juju Smith-Schuster, I think he'll resign with the Pittsburgh Steelers. If not, I just don't think that he's a great fit with the Giants. I think that he can be a distraction. Now, I don't think that he's a bad player or anything like that, but I just think that when you look at it, just what he's about, I know that he had to be told recently to lay out the TikTok and everything, but I just don't think that he'd be a great fit. I think that, looking at Chris Godwin and Antonio Brown, I think it's safe to say that they may re-sign with the Bucs. I'd like Chris Godwin, but I just think realistically the Bucs will look to bring him back. Will Fuller, I like Will Fuller, but my issue with Will Fuller is that he's always nursing a hamstring injury or just an injury period. So I just don't think that it'd be worth bringing him in. Marvin Jones is scheduled to meet with the Dolphins. I think that would be a great fit for the Dolphins. They need some wide receiver help as well, but I just don't think that, with Marvin Jones going and the Dolphins, that, we'd really have a chance of getting him. I think that T.Y. Hilton, he's kind of fallen off in the last 2 seasons. I like him as a player, but just the productivity hasn't been there. You can blame that to the quarterback play, but even with them getting Phillip Rivers, it hasn't really worked out. Now, Rashard Higgins, I do think that he will sign with Cleveland. He has a nice connection with Baker Mayfield. We don't know what's going to happen with OBJ. Maybe they keep him, maybe they don't, but Rashard Higgins has been solid for them. A.J. Green, I like A.J. Green, but he's up there in age on the opposite side of 30, and he is injury prone. Hasn't really worked out with the Bengals. I think that he'd be a great fit somewhere else, but I just don't see that with the Giants. Now, that brings me to the wide receivers that I chose. Let's start with Allen Robinson. Allen Robinson, 27 years old. 6'2", 220 pounds. He was drafted by the Jacksonville Jaguars in the second round back in 2014 out of Penn State. He did go to the Pro Bowl back in 2015 with Jacksonville. Now, if you guys remember, he did have an ACL injury back in 2017 with the Jaguars, but let's be real. It don't look that that's holding him back at all. He makes bad QBs look good. He played with Blake Bortles, Chase Daniels, Nick Foles, Mitch Trubisky, and he still looks solid under those quarterbacks. Now, I think what's most notable about him outside of coming back from that injury is that he had a 1,400-yard season back in 2014, and he's been a solid wide receiver since. Now, in 2020, he's had 102 receptions, 1,250 yards, 6 touchdowns, 12.3 yards per reception, and his longest catch was for 42 yards. Now, we'll see how he does in the playoffs against the Saints, but I do think that with the circus that they've had in Chicago with switching out QBs, that's still impressive to put over 1,000 yards. Now, last year, 2019, he had 98 receptions for 1,147 yards and 7 touchdowns. He had 11.7 yards per reception, and that's still impressive. Now, what I like about Allen Robinson is that he can get separation, he can spread the field, he can make those 50-50 balls, and you're getting a solid player. He's up there in age at 27, but he's worth every penny. Now, the problem is with Allen Robinson is that he may want $20 million per year, and we don't know how that cap is going to be. We don't know if it's going to take a hit. You heard, we know it's going to take a hit. We just don't know how far it's going to take a hit. And you heard Dave Gettleman say that it could be around $175 million, which is about a $20 million decrease from last offseason. Now, Dave Gettleman and Mara said that they will get playmakers for DJ, and we'll just have to see what happens. There are other players that I listed that would be more affordable and could be instant impacts as well. So let's look at Kenny Gallaudet. Kenny Gallaudet, he's 27 as well. but he's 6'4", 214 pounds. He was drafted by the Lions in the 3rd round back in 2017 out of Northern Illinois University. He's been with the Lions for about 4 years. He went to the Pro Bowl in 2019 with the Lions. Now, the thing with Kenny Gallaudet is that he's been nursing a hip injury, and hip injuries are very serious. Now, he's been out since week 5. He had 20 receptions for 338 yards and 2 touchdowns. But let's not get it twisted. He's a solid wide receiver. He would definitely fit the Jason Garrett scheme, and I'm going to get into that in a sec. But last year, he had 65 receptions for 1,190 yards and 11 touchdowns. And that's very impressive considering how dysfunctional, Matt Patricia's offense was. Now, look at it, right? Kenny Gallaudet, he's tall, he's athletic, he can get those 50-50 balls for you, he can spread the field and has good speed on him. I think that he would fit this Jason Garrett offense if they do keep Garrett, and he could also be used as that Dez role, right? Now, again, his main issue is staying on the field, but I do think that we could get him on a cheap contract, maybe a 1-year prove-it deal. I think that he would instantly help out this offense. Now, my favorite receiver, honestly, out of these 4 is this one, Corey Davis. Corey Davis is 25 years old, drafted 5th overall by the Tennessee Titans back in 2017. What's interesting is that the Tennessee Titans declined his 5th-year option because honestly, he hasn't lived up to to where they drafted him at 5th overall. And I think it's clear that he hasn't been that guy, and it's clear that A.J. Brown is that guy. Now, he has ties with Logan Ryan, and he would fit this offense and be an immediate number 1 wide receiver on this team on a team-friendly deal. Logan Ryan did state that he wants to play scout this offseason and help bring in some players that he's played with, and they both play with each other back in Tennessee. Now, Corey Davis is 6'3", so another big body wide receiver, 209 pounds. And let's be honest, this is his best year that he's had so far. In 2020 so far, he's had 65 receptions for 984 yards, 5 TDs. Now, he hasn't really lived up to that 5th overall potential because back in 2019, he had 43 receptions for 601 yards, 2 TDs. In 2018, 65 receptions for 891 yards and 4 TDs. I think it's clear that he would be the number 1 wide receiver on this team. He fit this team very well. And I keep stressing the height because our tallest wide receiver is 6 foot and Darius Slayton right now on the active roster. And we need a big body wide receiver, someone in the red zone, someone that can spread the field, and these wide receivers can do that. Now, what I like about Corey Davis is that he's going to come cheap. He's going to come cheap because he hasn't matched that productivity to being a 5th overall pick. And with the Titans declining his 5th-year option, he's not, in my honest opinion, if he gets a multi-year contract, it's not going to be upwards towards Allen Robinson. I think, honestly, it would be very team-friendly, and that's something that the players should look at. Now, lastly, we got Curtis Samuel. Curtis Samuel, he's going to be the smallest wide receiver at 5'11", 195 pounds. He's 24 years old. But what I like about Curtis Samuel is that he was drafted by Dave Gettleman when he was in Carolina back in 2017. He played at college at Ohio State. This is a wide receiver that could do it all. Almost like a gadget guy, but Samuel can spread the field, and he has great speed on him. Now, you've seen that Garrett likes using those wide receiver end-around plays, so a player like Samuel could fit that, and he would fit that perfectly, honestly. He's a New York guy. He was born in Brooklyn. I'm sure he'd love to come home and play for his home team. He's never broken 1,000 yards, but he'd be a nice 1A or 1B guy to Slayton, and we could get him on a cheap contract. In 2020, he had 77 receptions for 851 yards and 3 touchdowns. Prior, he had 115 yards and 0 touchdowns in 2017, 494 yards and 5 TDs in 2018, 627 yards and 6 TDs in 2019. So overall, look, either of these wide receivers would be a great fit for the Giants. My personal pick I'd love to go for, obviously, would be Allen Robinson. He'd make an immediate impact, and he would help DJ and this offense out a lot. But because of the price tag, I'm not sure if that's something the Giants would be willing to do. I want to say that, because of how much the cap will drop next year, that his price tag will go down. Just have to wait and see, Giants fans. Let me know your thoughts below. What are some wide receivers that you guys are looking at? Was there any that I missed? Let me know below. If you're new to the channel, hit the like button, hit that subscribe button. We're going to be making new content throughout the season, throughout the off season as well, with rumors, free agency, all of that. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys in the next video. This is Sid Squad Productions. Be